According to this year's Nobel Prize winner in economics, Richard Thaler, the world consists only of two types of people: humans and economists. Now, before I continue, I would like to know whether there are any economists in the room. Okay, they are almost extinct. Well, I'm an economist, but sometimes I'm human too. Like the other day, I think it was a month ago, that my daughter came to me and told me that she wanted to sell lottery tickets for a gymnastics club. Maybe you are familiar with this lottery. And I replied the way daddies do. I said, that's really a cool idea. And without further thinking, I bought 3 tickets. And then she left the house, and all of a sudden, the economist in me woke up. And the economist in me went online to look up the prices and the odds of this lottery and started to calculate the expected return on investment. Well, just to show you what kind of geek I am, here's the proof. And you know what? It's really a bad investment. So the economist in me would never ever buy such a ticket. And the gambler in me would not buy a ticket either, because any other lottery would be more attractive to participate in. And if I would care about charity, everybody would have been better off if I would just have transferred my money immediately to the gymnastics club. So there I was, Mr. Economist, with my 3 tickets. And in the meanwhile, my daughter was selling these tickets out on the street, and I sort of felt sorry for her. So let me introduce you to my daughter. There she is. And let us just imagine that she would ring your doorbell. Would you buy a ticket if she would ask you? I guess so, right? Well, it turned out that within an hour, she came home and she had sold her entire booklet, over 20 tickets. So I raised the question to myself, why on earth are we making decisions that do not make sense from an economic point of view? Are we stupid? Well, whereas the economist in us makes decisions based on costs and benefits, and by doing so, optimizes what we call his instrumental utility. The human makes decisions in a different way. A human does not only care about instrumental utility, but a human also cares about his identity. And he makes choices to confirm his identity. And this gives him what we call expressive utility. Now, what do I mean? I mean that when we make our decisions, we want to tell other people, but especially ourselves, who we are, what we believe, and what we value. And every time we do so, like for example, being nice and charitable to the little girl, we feel good about ourselves. Now this feeling, this is the expressive utility I'm talking about. Now, you and I, we literally make thousands of decisions per day. We make decisions about what we buy, what we say, what we do, how we behave, etc., etc. And with many of these decisions, instrumental utility and expressive utility are not in conflict. So, for example, when you buy your clothes or when you buy a car, in those situations, if you would like to confirm your identity, you have to put your money where your mouth is. And because of that, the expressive part and the instrumental part are perfectly in line. But we are also making decisions that have low cost and low benefit and are completely inconsequential to our lives. In those decisions, we don't have to put our money where our mouth is, but still we open up our mouth. Now, does that mean that if we are behaving like this, we are irrational? Are we stupid then? Well, in order to answer that, let me show you an equation, because we economists, we love equations. And so this is the decision-making process of a human. Now, if we buy a lottery ticket from a little girl, we may obtain negative instrumental utility, but as long as the positive expressive utility of being nice and charitable is larger than the loss due to the instrumental utility, our total utility is positive. And hence, we are not irrational. We are not stupid. Now, of course, I'm the first one to agree that this example is completely harmless. So you may wonder why I'm telling you this. Now, the reason that I'm telling you this is that there are other situations where our decisions are less harmless and potentially really harmful. On June 23, 2016, the British electorate decided to leave the European Union in a referendum that is better known as Brexit. In the aftermath of this referendum, different polls and studies have reported that over 1 million Leave voters by now regret their vote. This is about 6% of all casted votes. And would these people have voted Remain, then the outcome would have been Remain. Now, these so-called regret voters have been portrayed by the media as being amazingly stupid, don't you agree? But what if I would come along and tell you that these people were as stupid or as rational as you and me when we buy our lottery tickets from a little girl? Let me just do a comparison between the two. Like buying a lottery ticket, voting has a small cost. Of course, you do not have to buy your ballot to vote, but you have to inform yourself about the relevant issue. And you have to travel to the polling station, and this together takes time. And you know what they say, time is money. Now, what about the expected benefit? Here, it is also like a lottery, because the expected benefit of an election also consists of a price and a probability. The price here is the policy outcome that you prefer. And the probability is the probability that your vote is going to make the difference between Leave and Remain. Now, a Leave voter who wanted to Remain but voted Leave, he's never going to win the prize. So it's like a lottery. It's a bad investment. But the value of this bad investment has to be discounted by the fact that his individual vote will be decisive. Now, in the British case, which with over 30 million voters, it means that the probability that he will be decisive is basically zero. So the expected benefit of his bad investment is also practically zero. Now, what about the expressive utility here? If you vote Leave, you may well be able to confirm your identity of being dissatisfied with the government, or just your national pride. Now, if I would do the math here, then given the fact that the instrumental part in the case of Brexit has a value of 0, it is very likely that the expressive part is going to determine the decision. So, voting Leave, whilst you are in favor of Remain, is not stupid. In fact, elections are just lottery tickets and cute little girls in disguise. Now, the last couple of years, my colleagues and me have studied expressive voting behavior in the research lab. And if one thing stands out, then it is the fact that people vote differently in small groups when it's very likely that their vote is going to matter, compared to the same situation in large groups where it is unlikely that their vote is going to matter. Now, this is due to expressive behavior, and the consequence of it is that what is optimal for an individual can be suboptimal or even harmful for the entire population. Now, I hope you realize that expressive decisions are all over the place. Just try to imagine how many of your decisions have low costs and low benefit. In fact, in 10 seconds from now, my talk is over, and you, right afterwards, have to make your very next decision. Well, I leave it up to you whether that decision is going to be instrumental or expressive. Thank you.